4 down, 5 to go. How are you feeling? Calm, collected, and ready for the next one. Massive few days ahead for Leeds United, of course, starting with Stoke City at Ellen Road and then away at Swansea City on Sunday. So 2 big games to look forward to now. And I'm delighted to say we've got 2 top-notch guests to do it with. Ben Parker, former Leeds United player, and joining us all the way from West Wales, another former Leeds United man, Welsh international, former Swansea coach, Matty Jones. Matty, lovely to have you with us, looking ahead to these 2 games now. From your own point of view, what are you doing just at the moment?
Thanks, Bryn. Well, it's an absolute delight to be invited on the show. One of many wishes of mine, so thanks for the invite. Currently, I've just taken the new role of the Under-18s FAW, so that's the Wales lead manager's role. It's a new role that's been put in place, and my job this year is obviously to compete in the League of Nations and other European qualifications as well. So I've taken the step, left Swansea City where I left my Under-23s lead coach role, and very excited about the prospects that lay ahead, obviously representing again my country in a different capacity.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, great career that you look to be building yourself in coaching there, because you had to finish the game early. Your time at Leeds United probably wasn't quite what you'd have wanted, because you were at the club for a really early age, weren't you?
No, that's right. Yeah, my first experience, obviously joining the club at the age of 12, formally then moving up to Leeds at the age of 14. So a huge sacrifice put in by myself, but rewarded remarkably by having the opportunity of making my debut and experiencing the highs of what were, European football, playing Champions League, UEFA Cup, and obviously Premier League at the time. Followed, the club quite closely since my departure, and it's always been, I suppose, an emotion of mine that, I look back and a club that I'd never wanted to leave, and it was unfortunate circumstances at the time to want to fund the likes of Rio Ferdinand and, the aspirational signings that the club were signing at the time, and it was me that suffered. So fond memories of a wonderful club, and hopefully one day I'll return again in some capacity.
And one thing you've done a lot of since you've gone away from Leeds United, and particularly in the last few years, sadly, is that relationship that you had with Gary Speed as a young Welsh guy who found himself at Leeds United, is to raise a lot of money on that basis as well, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. It impacted me in such a strong way when Gary lost his life. And, I've always seen, just like as a value that he taught me from a young age, is that you always try to turn things into a positive. And for me, it was a case of supporting his charities, the Bobby Robson Foundation, the John Hartson Foundation, and just to do something, I suppose, in a positive light in terms of acting on his behalf as no doubt, and I was hoping at the time he'd be very proud of. So taking part in 3 London marathons, and coming from a person who'd retired from the game with a spinal injury. So for me, it was a huge motivation. I was doing it for a wonderful reason, and obviously connecting with the family and supporting what is a fantastic family that Gary left behind.
Well, we'll look at the football now, Matty. I mean, we'll talk about the Swansea game in just a minute. What we will do before we do that, though, is to look back at the weekend. As far as Leeds United were concerned, of course, it was a very good weekend. Went away to Ewood Park, potentially tricky-looking fixture against a side pushing hard for the playoffs, and Leeds United came away with an excellent victory. Ben, did you enjoy the performance as well as the result?
Well, we were just speaking before we came on air to do this about how open the first half was. And you and Jermaine in commentary were kind of saying it wasn't a typical Leeds United performance, but this is in a way is a typical Leeds United goal. On the front foot, a high press. Yeah, there's a couple of grumblings. Was it a free kick or not? Was it a foul? I just think clicks on the front foot. Travis is taking too long on the ball, dispossesses him. And saying into the build-up about strikers, the need service, in particular Patrick Bamford. And that's what Click did. First time into his path. And then it's up to Bamford to put him back of the net, and he certainly did so.
And then this Calvin Phillips. This is a moment of magic, Matty. You don't want to ever put one in like that?
Listen, I was reflecting more on your commentary at the time, mate. It was absolutely
Oh yes, oh yeah.
And we all celebrated in style. You know, it's one that took a lot of, I suppose, tension and frustration and pressure out of the players at the time. And no doubt, as those fans sit at home celebrating in style, because it's a wonderful, technically gifted goal. You know, to find the accuracy with the detail of that free kick was superb to see.
This free kick that we saw from Blackburn Rovers there, that was the moment where we just feared a wobble, wasn't it?
Well, I kind of did the stupid thing saying, well, 2-0's not a scary scoreline. You hear people up and down the country saying, oh, 2-0, it's next goal's a big goal. And I was thinking, no, it's a load of rubbish. And then 2 minutes into the second half, Armstrong steps up and puts probably an even better free kick into the side netting. You're just thinking, no, don't do this to us yet again. But just the game management from then on, I just thought it was second to none. We showed us real experience, real quality. Yeah, the keeper should be saving that, should be throwing his cap on it. But if you don't buy a ticket, you're not going to win, are you? So, and as soon as we got the third goal, I just thought we dictated the game. We just looked so strong. It could have been 4, could have been 5. But no, the game and the goal came just at a perfect time.
Do you like the football that Leeds are playing, Matt?
Absolutely loving the style. I think for me, what typifies is the press and the aggression that Cliche shows for the first goal, you know, assisting for Bamford. I just think, like Ben said there, you know, being on the front foot, being really aggressive and hungry on the press really allows you to regain possession high up the pitch, and it gives you a great opportunity to score goals.
They're a great study for coaches, aren't they, Leeds United at the moment, with Marcelo Bielsa as the main man?
Yeah, that's right. And I think what's working in his favour as well, because many questioned, obviously, at this point of the season, where players may fatigue and stall and you know, slowly slow down. I think the opportunity they've had through the pandemic is to refocus mentally and physically, and it's allowed Leeds now to push, even though, you know, it was a slow start coming out of lockdown. But certainly the aggression and the intensity they showed on the weekend against Blackburn really enlightens and excites us for these up-and-coming games again.
Which takes us nicely on to Stoke City at Ellen Road, a Thursday late afternoon, 5 p.m. kickoff. I don't know. Anyway, that's when it is, and it's the sort of game when you look back at the match between the two at the Britannia Stadium. Leeds ran out pretty easy winners ultimately, Ben. Is it the same level of Stoke City side they meet now, or have Stoke appeared to have improved since then?
Well, going off the last result was certainly improved, and just going off what Mike was saying there about the break, done our players probably a world of good, kind of refocus, refresh the mind and your physical output. You might have just done the same to Stoke as well. Yeah, they've probably been a little bit even more indifferent to us on the restart, but the last result was a massive game against Barnsley for themselves. And when we played them here, after the game, it looked like the manager Jones was in a world of trouble, clung onto his job for a little while longer, but you know, we were comfortable in this game. But as every team we've seen, they've got players, Premier League kind of quality players, so on any given day they can hurt us. And as we saw against Luton last week, teams near the bottom fighting for their lives, they're the hardest kind of games at the moment.
And Matty, there's Welsh interest in the Stoke City performance every game, because although there's no Joe Allen at the moment, he's out injured, but Vokes came back into the starting 11 for them, and James Chester came in to start for them in their last game, the big win that Ben's just talked about. They've got some top calibre players, haven't they, Stoke City?
Yeah, and I think that's one thing to be mindful of. Obviously, since Michael O'Neill has taken over, I think it was back in November, it's a totally different side the Leeds are going to be facing now on Thursday. But the calibre of player in there, especially with the front three, I mean, Tyrus Campbell is very effective in what he does. His confidence is going to be, you know, sky high at the moment after his 2 goals. Young Cousins, I think Jordan Cousins in midfield, a real effective player. The Sam Klukas, Sam Vokes, you know, to mention just a few. So obviously the threats are going to be there, and it'd be interesting to see the game plan and the methods behind how Stoke will want to play. Because whether they sit back and frustrate and are happy with taking a point from Leeds, or whether they play this open, expansive game like we've seen against Blackburn, and that can really go in our favour. Yeah,
that's a key question, isn't it, Ben? Because we saw what Luton did. Will Stoke, similar sort of position in the table, will they do the same thing?
I'd think they'd be stupid not to. We're seeing how open the game was against Blackburn. And every time the game's open, it suits us so much, the quality of play we have in the final third. Tyler Roberts on the half turn, Harrison coming in from the left-hand side, I can go on from the right-hand side as we saw against Blackburn. So the forward-thinking players, given more time and space, are going to hurt opposition. Luton found that, get 10 men behind the ball, and it's very difficult then. It's okay, break us down. It's always easy in games like this, get an early goal, and then the team's got to come out against you. But football's not like that. They're not going to make it easy either. So, look, we expect to have the most territory, most set pieces, most everything, every stat you can think of. But it's about putting the ball in the back of the net and creating the opportunities. And again, on Saturday, I thought it was clinical in front of goal. And that's probably something that's not been labelled as too much. I thought it was clinical against Fulham, clinical on Saturday. If we're clinical on Thursday at 5 o'clock, then we should come out winners. But it's going to be a tough game.
So difficult game against Stoke City coming up on Thursday, and another really difficult fixture coming up Sunday lunchtime, it would appear, at Swansea. Swansea, I'm trying to work out, Matt, what sort of side are Swansea City at the moment?
Well, Swansea adapted to a different formation on the weekend after only 2 days prep, really, after speaking to Alan Tate just last night, obviously the first team coach, reverting to 3 at the back, and that stems from the mental fatigue that's kicking in, as well as the injuries they're dealing with. So Mike van der Horn being out for a long injury, Joe Rodon at the back really struggling through injury, and obviously Ben Cabango, who stepped in and done really, really well, but unfortunately mentally and physically exhausted after the pressures he's been under of making his initial exciting start in the Championship team. So, you'll obviously see the threats, like we say, seen the pictures there of Wayne Routledge, an old stalwart of the club, but still producing and covering some distance as well, playing a wing-back role in the team on Sunday.
Is it a game that Leeds can really be confident to go and win?
I think they need to be aggressive, and again, that could fall in the hands of Leeds United, just because the pressures that surround the position that they lie in 8th, knowing that they're desperate for these points, and like Ben said earlier, the teams that Leeds are going to be up against in this run, and they've all got something to fight for. It's in a way you wish for a middle of the table team who are not fighting for nothing to make it slightly easier. But then again, with the style and with the ease that Leeds play in terms of when teams come at them and make it more fun, they do break them down, they do create opportunities. So I'm seeing that it'll be a positive thing for Leeds going to Liberty Stadium on Sunday, knowing how desperate Swansea will be for the points, and I think it'll work in Leeds' favour.
It would be great just to have a nice, relaxed couple of games, wouldn't it, against a side or sides that didn't really have a great deal to play for. It doesn't seem to be on the schedule for us currently, does it?
Can we remember last time we had one of them, Bryn? Because I can't. It might have been when Matty was playing, to be honest. But no, that's the dream. But 5 games to go, everything to play for, 6 points clear of 3rd. What more incentive do you need? And Matty will say, these are the type of games, as a player, you just love to be involved in.
So there you go. A huge few days lie ahead for Leeds United. Of course, you'll be watching the matches on LUTV. Build-up of an hour, fully focused on Leeds United Football Club for both those matches. See you then.